Okay, so this is the Phantom 3 drone. Pakistan says they're using it for spying purposes. This is a ridiculous charge, and Divya Puri is here to tell us why. You're a big drone fan. You use these very passionately. Why do you believe that what Pakistan is saying is completely unbelievable?
First of all, there are many reasons for this. First of all, it's not a drone. It's a quadcopter. Drones are not these. Drones have the ability to fly for longer durations of time, and they're able to go ahead and, able to carry payloads as well. This does not have a payload carrying capability, number one. Number two, it's not something that can go on for miles or kilometers. It has a 200-meter range.
Just 200 meters?
Just 200 meters range. It has a maximum of altitude of about 150 meters. You can't fly it at high altitude locations because the batteries go kaput. So there is nothing as such which you can do about it. It's not a drone. It's a quadcopter. People need to start realizing it. What is the difference between a drone and a quadcopter?
And Gaurav, what is most interesting is that a lot of these drones are now being used at marriages. They're being used at parties. And somehow Pakistan wants the world to believe that a drone like the one that Zahir has in his hands is actually being used by India for spying. That's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and that is why Pakistan hasn't been able to give India any of the evidence that India sought. Now look at the noise that this quadcopter is creating. A drone is meant to be silent. The drones that the Indian Army, Navy and the Air Force use are only two types, the Searchers and the Herons. They're both made in Israel. In fact, our pilots, our drone pilots, they go there for training. Once they come back, they fly them. This flies for what, 20 minutes at the most in high altitude. Because of the battery life, the battery drains out early. It can't fly for more than 10 minutes. It makes so much noise that you can bring it down with a pebble. And so Pakistan is talking through its
The
hat.
quality of footage is also not very good, and people like you have a tough time trying to control this drone.
One is the quality of the footage that you cannot use for surveillance. And the most interesting things are these are very basic things which does not have a carrying capacity. So it's a very basic camera. If I can show it to see, it's a very small camera that you can attach with it. So it'll be stupid someone using this for surveillance. This is a toy which is available everywhere in the market.
We have a lot more to talk about over the next few minutes, but I want to take you through the political reactions, because Pakistan has leveled this charge of India having used the drone. This is complete drama, but we've had the Foreign Secretary now come out and react very strongly, saying the firing along the line of control needs to stop. Here's why. The IB and the LOC are tense, and it's got nothing to do with what Pakistan says.
ड्रोन के जरिए जासूसी और ये जो वाकया देखने में आया, उसके अलावा हेलीकॉप्टर्स के जरिए निगरानी जैसे अमूर भी देखने में आ रहे हैं.
Less than a week after the warm handshake at Ufa, Pakistan escalating tension along the LOC, claiming that India was using the drone for aerial photography in violation of international norms. However, facts seems to be divorced from Pakistan's claim. India today has learnt that the drone was actually being tested by Pakistan's ISI, and the lack of coordination between the Pakistani army and its intelligence agency led to the drone being shot down. What gives further credence to this theory is the fact that India does not use any Chinese drones.
The photograph of the drone in question indicates that it is not of Indian design, nor of any UAV category held in the inventory of the Indian Armed Forces. It appears to be of Chinese design and is commercially available off the shelf.
Also, sources in the BSF told India today that a similar drone was spotted on 3rd July by border outpost at Ballar, flying merely 500 meters from the zero line and at a height of 1000 meters.
ड्रोन किसी भी राष्ट्र का हो सकता है, भारत और पाकिस्तान का. और एक चीज़ और समझनी चाहिए कि जो भी जहाज, हवाई जहाज जो हवा में उड़ रहा है, कोई ज़रूरी नहीं है जहां उसका मलबा गिरा हो वो वहीं था.
So they are just blaming for all their local problems to India. Second thing, they are also trying to create some sort of panic in India.
The incident itself proves that despite having a UFA talk between India and Pakistan, there seems to be elements within Pakistan which have hatred for India and want to derail the peace process. With camera person Ishwar Dayal, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for India Today.
We're now going to systematically dismantle the claim that Pakistan is making. I hold in my hand the Phantom 3 drone. Take a look at the image on your screen now. This is exactly the same drone that Pakistan says India brought down. Now that charge is absolutely ludicrous because nobody uses such drones for spying purposes. Divya, how much does the drone that I hold in my hand and that Pakistan claims India used for spying, how much does this cost?
Approximately a lakh, 90,000, 110, depending on the accessories that you put, but nothing more than that or less.
So Gaurav, this is possibly amongst the cheapest drones that you can fly, completely unsuitable for spying purposes.
This is an amateur drone. You know, aero modeling enthusiasts use this. And this is a quadcopter. It's not even a drone. A drone is exactly like an aircraft. If you look at these real drones, the searchers and the herons, the range that they fly, the endurance that they have, the cameras they can carry radars. The searchers and the herons that the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force use, they have endurance of 8 hours to up to 16 hours if there is line of sight.
Let's take a look at the tech specs of the Phantom 3 drone. This costs about ₹103 in the market. You can order it on several of the e-commerce websites. Also, this drone can only fly at a maximum for about 20 minutes, no more than that. It can fly for no more than 20 minutes. And the other thing about this drone is that it can't go for more than a couple of kilometers at the most.
2 kilometers at the most.
2 kilometers is about 2,000 meters. We are talking about somewhere close to about 200 meters, not even 2 kilometers.
So if it's 2 kilometers, then that's way too much.
It's not going to fly that long. The range of the remote controls are not that much.
And in case the soldiers are using this, the Pakistanis will bring down the soldier by their bullets. The person, it has to be line of sight.
Just look at the battery. It's only 5,200 mAh.
So that's like a mobile phone battery.
If you notice the drone that's tracked there, you don't see a camera there. So I don't think it's really been used for surveillance, because if it was for surveillance, the camera should have been attached. If you see the visuals, you don't see a camera with the drone.
You know, let's now take a look at why what Pakistan is saying is almost inconceivable. Let's demolish their argument one by one. Firstly, India would never buy a Chinese drone. We buy no weapon systems from China, and least of all something as sensitive as drone technology. Gaurav, is that right?
You're absolutely right. Given the relationship between India and China, there is no military equipment that India will ever buy from China unless relationship improves. There's so much trouble even buying electronics from China as of now. You want Chinese investment in infrastructure, building roads and railways to an extent, but no question of military hardware from China.
And the other thing is that the capacity of this drone is so limited that it's completely unsuited for espionage purposes. It's completely unsuited for spying.
200 meters, you know, you need a line of sight. For example, when you are flying this or when Divya is flying this, you can see Divya. In case our soldiers are flying that, our soldiers will be seen 200 meters away and they'll shoot our soldiers down.
And there's a problem with altitude as well, Divya.
Yes,
that's right.
As soon as these copters are flown at high altitude areas, the biggest problem is that the cold weather causes the batteries to deplete faster.
Yes.
At the same time, I don't like saying I'm flying a drone in a newsroom, because that's almost impossible. That'll make me somebody totally different.
Okay, I want to now take you through the kind of weapon system, the kind of drones that the Indian Army and the Air Force actually use. There are three kinds of drones that we use: the Heron, the Searchers and the Nishan. Gaurav, take us through, starting with the Searcher first.
The Searchers, these are Israeli drones. Post-Kargil, India decided to buy these drones. They're extremely versatile. Searchers are for tactical operations by the Indian Army. They look over the hill. Depending on the payload, depending on the kind of camera, the radar that's on board, it can fly for up to 8 hours, maximum 8 hours, but usually flown for between 40 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours to know what's on the other side of the hill. That's Searcher. Searcher Mark II is a more advanced version. It can fly longer depending on the payload. It has more endurance. Searcher Mark II is also extremely good for high altitude, unlike Searcher Mark I. Let's move on to the next drone that the Indian Navy and the Air Force fly, which is the Herons. Much better. They have an endurance of up to 16 hours.
And look at how big that is.
Exactly.
In comparison with the toy that I hold.
They have a range of 350 kilometers and beyond. Once again, it depends on the payload that you're carrying. And Rahul, those are professional military spy equipment. They transmit, they see, they have radars on board, they have electronics on board, they have cameras on board. They go up to 1,000 kilometers in the Navy as far as the Navy is concerned. But that clearly depends on the ship you always need line of sight. You need a soldier or a sailor to fly this, and they are trained pilots. Our pilots
Those are heron images
Israel.
on our screen right now.
Yes, and our pilots go to Israel for training.
From a user's perspective, Divya, how is a heron, for example, different from the Phantom that Pakistan claims they're using for spying?
The Heron is an automated, has an automated navigation system. It has already baked in components which allow it to fly on a certain path using certain parameters which are waypoint systems. It's not something that you can go and off-market buy it. It has to have satellite connection. There are lots of things involved in it. You have to have that kind of a power for it to lift that kind of a weight to travel. Also, they are fuel-based systems. They don't travel on electronics. They have more weight carrying capacity. They have much more things that are involved in it. It's not these are not drones. We need to understand. You don't fly drones in houses. You don't fly drones in parks. Drones are basically nothing else but actually used in aerial surveillance by military.
There's also a third drone that we use that's called the Nishant.
Nishant is something that we are indigenously developing. While it started off very well, it's still at a very basic stage. You're using a Nishant more as a target acquirer for your other weapon systems. It's searchers and herons. There's another aspect to this, Rahul. When you fly this quadcopter or a Phantom 3, you don't need much. But when you fly a searcher or a heron, you have to actually have a flight path. You have to inform other aircraft that this will be flying at 12,000 feet altitude, 10,000 feet altitude, so that there is no mid-air collision. That's like a real aircraft minus the pilot.
Can you just put this down for a moment, because I want to go across now to Islamabad. Joining us from there is Admiral Javed Iqbal, a leading strategic affairs expert of Pakistan. Admiral Iqbal, over the past few minutes, we've completely demolished the Pakistani claim that this Phantom 3 drone was used by India for spying. This is a commercial drone. It's like a toy thing. You can use it at weddings and stuff. Why would Pakistan level a charge of this nature, which is so difficult to believe? The charge itself is bogus.
Does it say that it will not give the information? It will not take picture? Does it say? So this is why that many Middle East countries have banned these things, because they know that these things can, go fly anywhere, and up to 20 minutes they can fly, and that idea is to bring information, picture. So this is not
Admiral Iqbal, these are commercial drones. They're used at weddings. They're used at parties. They're completely. We've got experts over here in the studio, and they're completely unsuitable for any form of spying.
No, it makes the sense. It will make the sense, because along the line of control, your checkpost and the border post and all these things, that is the most important segment of the border, and one would like to know what is happening on the other side. So I think it is very, reasonable to assume that instead of using hi-fi drones, expensive drones, these things can be covered, you see, saying that these are toys, and the purpose can be, purpose is served. So what is so, strange about it? I think it is sensible to use these drones.
Admiral Iqbal, just look at the screen that we have on our television sets right now. This is the drone that Pakistan claims we used for spying, whereas the real drones are much heavier, much bigger, far greater capacity than this. This is possibly something that was flying locally, and one wing of the Pakistani arm brought down a drone which is either, up for commercial purposes, somebody was having fun, or maybe the ISI was doing something and you didn't know about it. This is not the kind of instrument that you send across the border. That makes no sense.
I think you are absolutely possessed by ISI and generals. I tell you, the thing is that you consider that out of 20 crores, only ISI and generals are running. I can tell you one thing, that whether this is run by ISI or generals, the Pakistan public and generals and ISI and
I completely disagree with what you're saying, but clearly you're reflecting the mindset in Pakistan tonight. And I want to go across now to Siddharth Nath Singh. national spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party. He's joining us on this broadcast. You've been hearing, Siddharth, the kind of responses we are getting from Pakistan. Now the Modi government seems to have boxed itself into a corner. You've extended your arm in an act of friendship. We're getting bullets from across the border. You're boxed into a corner. Does the government have a plan? What do you intend to do? Was this a big mistake by reaching out in Russia?
I don't think, Rahul, that the government has boxed themselves. On the contrary, the government has very cleverly, using the multilateral forums rather than a composite dialogue or a bilateral talk, using these forums like SAARC and SCOs and others, have brought focus back on terrorism between India and Pakistan. So it's a very big achievement, and within that framework, it's now for the Pakistan to walk the talk.
Siddharth, earlier, while in opposition and then in the initial months, the Modi government had taken a very clear view that we will not talk to Pakistan till the time they have terror camps operating in POK. We will not talk to Pakistan till the time there's firing going on along the border. Now, both those conditions are still active. Pakistan's guns haven't been silenced. Why then is the Modi government seeming so anxious to get on with the dialogue process? Why can't you go back to your original stand and say, till the time these guns go silent, we won't talk to you?
No, Rahul, try and understand that position doesn't change. There are red lines, and within those red lines, you have to, within those boundaries of red lines, the discussions can hold, but it's not a composite dialogue. First, and let me also add here, earlier we have seen that talks and terror went on simultaneously, and there was a bilateral kind of a relationship, which was a Sharm el-Sheikh type of a joint statements were coming, where bilateral discussions were happening. Now the issue is, we want to focus on terrorism, and the Pakistan is also now boxed into that whole issue of terrorism. As far as the government of India is concerned, the government of India is very focused, and the Pakistan needs to move in that direction. If they move otherwise, then we all know what the end results are.
But Siddharth, are you giving Nawaz Sharif extra leeway? Because there's a sense in the BJP government that maybe there are elements in the Pakistani army and the ISI that are trying to jeopardize this dialogue process even before it really gets started. Is that why the Modi government is going soft? Because there have been reports that just when the two premiers were about to meet, there was an instruction sent out to the border not to retaliate hard and to hold back fire because you didn't want this dialogue process to falter and get derailed?
Well, certainly, if you look at Pakistan, there is a civilian government, and the civilian government headed by Nawaz Sharif. But at the same time, there are dynamics and complicities in Pakistan which relates to ISI and the military. But at the same time, it is for the civilian government to rein in and then come on or let's say walk the talk. Because they have given in black and white certain, assurances on the way the terrorism needs to be tackled. So I think it is for the civilian government in Pakistan to look at their complicities and ensure that things become peaceful.
Okay, I'm going to leave it over there. The government has clearly boxed itself into a bit of a corner. We'll remain to see how the government manages to extricate itself from here. But for the time being, Siddharth Nath Singh, thank you for joining us. Divya, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers and helping demolish the claim that Pakistan has made. Just once again, look at the Phantom 3. And this is the drone Pakistan says India is using for spying. Thank you also, Zahir, for joining us. And Zahir, these drones, because while we were setting up the show, I must tell our viewers that the drone started malfunctioning. It's not even flying, so that's how unreliable it is. It's a Chinese-made product and not particularly reliable, Zahir.
No, and why would you use a product that you are not sure about coming back? So what's the point of sending something for surveillance?
Yeah, we were using it. It started flying around in our newsroom and went out of Zahir's control, and that by itself also is very dangerous and just shows why would any serious army use something as unreliable as this. But look now at the consequences along the international border, consequences along the international boundary where heavy firing is taking place because Pakistan thinks India is using this machine for spying.
This warm handshake at Ufa followed by a chill in relations. The reason? Pakistan getting back to its old ways, violating the ceasefire and encouraging infiltration bids by terrorists. An infiltration bid busted by security forces in the Poonch sector, even with the Pakistan forces providing cover fire. And after one civilian was killed and 3 BSF Jawans were injured on Wednesday, more ceasefire violations being reported from Arispura.
He emphasized the seriousness of the unprovoked firing by Pakistan and conveyed that we would retaliate if it continued. Accordingly, yesterday night, our forces retaliated.
It is worthy to note that immediately after the UFA meet, Pakistan has started betraying India. From ceasefire violations to infiltration bids. Sartaj Aziz's U-turn on the Kashmir issue to the drone drama. And also its change of stand on dreaded terrorist Lakhvi. Inputs, Pakistan is preparing to push more terrorists into India, and Pakistan Rangers are targeting around 15 border outposts on the border.
India's High Commissioner to Islamabad called up the Foreign Secretary of Pakistan twice to register a strong protest against the ceasefire violations, especially the one in Akhnur sector in which an Indian civilian lost her life. India also called the Pakistan High Commissioner to India, Abdul Basit, to register a strong protest on the increased provocations.
With Maha Siddiqui in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
We're slipping into a quick break on the newsroom. When we come back, we've got more reports relating to the heightened tension between India and Pakistan. A Pakistani movie is not being allowed to play in Maharashtra, and it's also being reported that Pakistani kabaddi teams will not be allowed to play in the Pro Kabaddi League. We'll have more on that when we come back on the other side of a quick break. You're watching the newsroom.